Hey, this is Jim Katsoulis with a Program Yourself Thin weekly lesson. And this week I want to share with you a mental trick to make weight loss more pleasurable. And to be honest, it's not really a trick as much as it is an approach or a strategy that you can use. And so it really starts by remembering that losing weight and mastering your health is really about increasing the quality of your life. Everything about your life improves when you feel better about yourself, when your body's healthier. Okay, so we need to remember that because it's so easy to just minimize it. Say, oh, yeah, I want to lose some weight. I got to drop a couple pounds. The first we need to do is make this more important. And it is more important, as you're going to find out. And you need to understand that how you feel about weight loss is really dictated by how you think about it. And so that's really the secret here is that we want to think about weight loss differently. If when you think about weight loss, you just think about all the bad parts of it, right? How hard it's going to be and how boring it's going to be and stressful. If that's how you think about it, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure right from the beginning. And so we want to change the way we're thinking about it. I'm going to share some of those things in a moment. But again, you can get to a place where, again, if you can get pleasurable, that's great. But at the very least, we want to neutralize it so we don't feel dread when we think about it. And one of the reasons why this works is your brain has a part of it called the reticular activation system, or RAS for short. And if you think weight loss is going to be impossible, really hard, it's going to be horrible, then your brain literally scans the environment to find evidence of that. Okay, so your reticular activation system, the way most people experience it every day is whatever car you drive. You ever notice how you just see it on the road everywhere? Now, you're not looking for it, but it just pops up, right? Because it's important to you because you drive it. And so your brain deletes all the other cars and brings into your awareness the car that you have. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to the weight loss. If you believe it's going to be the hardest, most miserable thing ever, that's what you will notice in the environment. And when you start to realize that it can be easier, it can be fun, and it can be pleasurable and enjoyable, that's what your brain will start to find in the environment as well. And finally, your mind is a servo mechanism, and it answers the questions that you ask. So just like a computer, it's not good or bad. It just basically is doing what you put into it. It's the same thing with our minds. And so they have a saying with computer programming, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. It's the same thing with your brain. If you're putting garbage in it, you're going to get garbage out. And so we're so conditioned to think about weight loss and health as being unpleasant at the least and impossible and miserable at the worst that we really are setting ourselves up for failure by thinking that way. So that is the secret to making weight loss more pleasurable, to mastering your health and making that fun and enjoyable is to think about it differently. And that's the very first step that I would suggest that you make. And so what we want to do is we want to frame this whole process differently. And in order to do that, we need to understand how we typically go about trying to lose weight. How we typically frame weight loss is we put pleasure versus pain. And so obviously eating unhealthy foods and doing unhealthy things a lot of times in the moment is very pleasurable. And so when we say, okay, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get healthier, we really say, okay, there's that pleasure over there, but I'm going to see how much pain I can withstand. And we're usually able to do that for a short period of time until finally the pleasure wins. And the reason that is because our brains are literally a pleasure-seeking mechanism, right? We are literally wired to seek out pleasure. So this pleasure versus pain approach rarely works. So what we want to do is we want to put pleasure versus pleasure. And so we're not going to deny that eating cake and pizza and drinking beers can be a lot of fun and very pleasurable, right? We're not going to deny that. We know that. But here's where things get different. I'm going to challenge you that I believe living at your ideal weight, living a healthy lifestyle is more pleasurable. Okay. And so that's what we're doing differently here. We're not putting pleasure against pain. We're putting a greater pleasure of being healthier and living in the body we want and having a healthy lifestyle. When that becomes more pleasurable in our mind than the food, that's when we turn weight loss and weight maintenance and mastery into a pleasurable process. And we can do this right from the beginning, and it starts by thinking differently. So what is it? This idea that living healthy is the most pleasurable thing you can do. Some people say, well, is that really true? Let's think about it. When you really think about eating these foods that are causing you weight issues or health issues, the first step is we need to look at the full picture, right? So for a lot of people, the eating it is kind of enjoyable, but even when you're doing it too much, even the eating it might not be as enjoyable as you think. So pay attention to that next time. But we can't let it end there. We need to look at the effects of it. And so we need to look at how you feel the following hours after you eat the wrong foods about yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? How do you feel energetically? How do you feel about yourself emotionally, right? Do you feel shame? Do you feel guilt? Do you feel embarrassment? Feel frustration? The next morning when you wake up and you reflect on how you ate the day before, again, are you tapping into positive feelings or negative feelings? How do you feel about yourself? And as the day goes on, and again, there's all these little things when your clothes don't fit right, when you see a reflection, you feel bad about yourself. Again, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying it so you can, in accounting, they call it full cost accounting. So if we're going to talk about pleasure of food, and again, eating it can be pleasurable without question, but we have to look at the full picture. And when you do that, you may start to realize very quickly that it's not as pleasurable as you thought when you look at the full thing. Now we look at the other side, right? And so, you have an option to eat a bunch of cookies, or to eat an apple. And so in the moment, right, the pleasure is obvious, right? The cookies are more pleasurable. But if we look at the full picture, things get a little interesting. So we eat the apple. And so again, we do it and it's all right. It's not too pleasurable. But here's where it gets good. The hours after the apple, right? You feel happy about yourself. You're proud, right? You feel lighter. You feel stronger. If it's before bed, you sleep better. You wake up the next day, you reflect on how you did the previous day. And if you ate well, you feel good about yourself. Your self-esteem goes up. Your self-image goes up. You feel more confident, more successful. You do this long enough, your clothes start fitting better. You start feeling more confident, more attractive, more healthy. And it goes on and on. Okay, so it is my belief that living a healthy lifestyle is ultimately more pleasurable when you take everything into account. And this is what I'd suggest you spend a little bit of time and think about this. Because if you can start this process off by believing that you're moving towards ultimate pleasure, well, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Okay. And again, as you expand it out, there's nothing else in my experience that will have such a positive effect on your life. And this is even beyond winning, a big pot of money. Nothing will have as positive effect on your life as taking control of your health, of feeling better, of feeling good about yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay. And so again, that's what you want to start focusing in on. And the more you focus in on the positive effects it's going to have in your life, how much better you feel, again, you keep building up that pleasure, the pleasure you associate, not to weight loss, but to weight mastery. Okay. And here's a secret. I want to share this with you because so often when people try and motivate themselves to lose weight, they focus on the physical benefits, right? And I get it. You're going to lose some weight. You'll look better. Your clothes will fit better. So it's kind of an external oriented focus. But what you want to start doing is focusing on the mental and the emotional benefits. This is where you have more room to build up motivation. And so what I mean by that is the mental side is the thoughts in your head. So if you start to become aware of the chatter in your head, when you eat the wrong thing, it can be very negative. I mean, you're saying very mean things to yourself. Your self-image goes down. Your self-esteem goes down. And the emotional side's obvious, right? So there's guilt, shame, embarrassment, frustration, all that. And so that flips around when you start living healthier. You have a healthy day of eating. You start feeling good about yourself. You start feeling more optimistic. You think you can make changes. You have more power. Right? And then the emotional benefits of feeling more confident and excited and happy and looking forward to the future and feeling in control. So again, when you take into account the physical, mental, and emotional benefits of living a healthy lifestyle, boy, the pleasure, it really starts to speed up quick. And then finally, again, here, it's recognizing the indirect benefits of your life, right? And this is where things get interesting. Because if someone is just thinking, oh, I want to lose some weight because I want to look better, there's not a lot of motivation in that, to be honest, especially if you're in a committed relationship, because, that person's not going to love you more, right, if you lose weight. They love you for who you are, and again, they might like it looks nicer and all the rest of it, but it's usually not enough motivation for us. But if you start being more positive, if you start feeling better about yourself, you start having more energy, you feel more confident, that starts to spiral out into the areas of your life. it affects your most important relationships, your work and ability to make more money, to develop yourself personally. Whatever your goals are in life, they all are improved positively when you start living a healthier lifestyle, right? When your body starts becoming stronger, healthier, and you feel good about yourself, everything starts getting better. Okay. So this is what we have to start thinking about. We've been brainwashed. Think about it. There's billions and billions of dollars a year spent on food advertising, foods that do not support any of this pleasure that we're talking about. Okay. So there's got to be some effect, and there is. And so we need to fight back by almost like stopping the brainwashing and reconditioning ourselves to remember and recognize that having a strong, lean, healthy body is truly what's going to give us the most pleasure, right, at the end of the day. And then finally, I want to add this last one in here because it's important. A lot of times when people start losing weight, it's difficult. Anything new that you're changing behaviorally is challenging in the beginning, right? Because you have to think about it. And so it takes more work and it uses more energy and it's tiring. But you have to remember that it's not going to stay like that. It's just like that in the beginning, right? So if you learn to play the piano, yeah, it's really hard in the beginning, but as you start to master the movements, the chords, the scales, it becomes easier and easier and automatic. And so I want you to remember that about this process as well. Just because it starts off a little bit challenging, it's not going to stay that way. You got to remember that, because if you go into it thinking it's so horrible and it's kind of hard in the beginning, and you think it's going to be like that forever, then it starts to feel like, oh God, I can't keep this up forever. But it's not going to be like that. You're going to get used to it. It's going to become automatic, and you're going to get to live that pleasure, and it's going to become who you are. And it's going to become just as natural and automatic as you're eating now, maybe. Okay? It can we assimilate to whatever we do over time, and it just becomes automatic and uses less energy. So remember that. Okay? The beginning does not mean it's going to be like that forever. It's so important to remember that. So I hope this helps you out, and if you want to take it further, you can write out, how would it help you, right? Again, you can do it both ways. You can look at the pain of eating unhealthy, right? Again, physical, mental, and emotional pain of it in the short and the long term. You can think about how it affects you negatively in other areas of your life. Again, not the weight, right? The weight itself physically, it may not be holding you back in some areas of your life. It may, and so that might be obvious to you, but if it's not, the emotional and mental parts are, right? Feeling down about yourself, feeling discouraged, feeling like a failure, shame, or guilt. When you feel those all the time, it's going to affect you in other areas of your life that are important to you negatively, okay? So you can think about those things and write them out, and then you can do the flip side and think about all the pleasure you would get out of eating better, living better, having health that you truly could master. And, as you looked into the future, you knew you were going to be able to maintain it because you loved feeling and living this way. All right. So I hope this helps you out. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Hey, thank you for watching this training. I hope you enjoyed it and that you got a lot out of it. As a thank you, I want to offer you a gift to help you jumpstart your weight loss today. And it's a custom self-hypnosis session called The New Thin Me. And you can download it for free at programyourselfthin.com/session. And again, it's completely free. You'll go there, you'll answer a couple questions, and you will get a session that is customized to your situation to help you get fired up, to get motivated, to do the things you need to do to really get the body and the health that you truly desire and deserve. So again, I want to thank you, and you can get that session at programyourselfthin.com/session. Have a great day.